नमस्कार दोस्तों, आज के एपिसोड का मुख्य विषय है क्या विज्ञान और तकनीक के तीव्र विकास के बीच हम प्रकृति और पर्यावरण से दूर होते जा रहे हैं? Has industrialization, increasing energy demand and the reckless use of resources affected the Earth's natural balance? And the most important question, can development and environmental protection go hand in hand? इन्हीं गंभीर और अत्यंत प्रासंगिक प्रश्नों को ध्यान में रखते हुए आज हमने लाइफ एक्सप्रेस में एक बहुत ही खास अतिथि को आमंत्रित किया है जो इन सभी चिंताओं पर विस्तार से प्रकाश डालेंगे और हमें बताएंगे कि विज्ञान, ऊर्जा और पर्यावरण के बीच संतुलन कैसे स्थापित किया जा सकता है। लेकिन उन सब बातों से पहले मैं आज के हमारे विशिष्ट अतिथि का एक संक्षिप्त परिचय प्रस्तुत करना चाहूंगा। हमारे आज के विशिष्ट अतिथि हैं प्रोफेसर सुनील खन्ना। प्रोफेसर खन्ना का जन्म 15 दिसंबर 1955 को उत्तराखंड की राजधानी देहरादून में हुआ। बचपन से ही अपनी विलक्षण प्रतिभा और उत्कृष्ट कार्यों के बदौलत उन्होंने समाज में अपनी एक अलग पहचान बना ली थी। यदि हम उनके शैक्षणिक जीवन पर प्रकाश डालें तो पाते हैं कि उन्होंने अपनी प्रारंभिक, माध्यमिक तथा उच्च शिक्षा अव्वल दर्जे से सफलतापूर्वक पूरी की। He received his bachelor's degree in botany honors from the University of Delhi in 1976, followed by his master's degree from the Indian Agricultural Research Institute in 1978. More importantly, he did his PhD in biochemistry from the Waite Agricultural Research Institute, part of the University of Adelaide in 1983. In his illustrious career of more than 3 decades, Professor Khanna held several dignified positions at several prestigious national and international institutions. He served as Vice President, Dean and Professor at NIIT University and also provided significant leadership as Director General of the Gujarat Energy Research and Management Institute and Director of Pandit Deen Dayal Urja Vishwavidyalaya from 2020 to 2023. जैव प्रौद्योगिकी, बायो रिमेडिएशन, जैव ऊर्जा और पर्यावरण अनुकूल तकनीकों के विकास में उनका योगदान अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण रहा है। Publishing more than 150 research papers in high-impact journals, Dr. Khanna is considered one of the most cited scientists in the world. And I should not forget to add that Dr. Khanna has been felicitated by several prestigious awards and recognitions at national and international levels for his academic contributions to world science fraternity. And to know more about Professor Khanna and his works, I shall take you straight to him. So please join me in welcoming a truly inspiring personality whose entire life has been dedicated to science, research, education, and human welfare, one and only Professor Sunil Khanna. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
First of all, on behalf of my entire Life Express team and on behalf of my intellectual viewers, I warmly welcome you and express my sincere gratitude to you for your gracious presence in Life Express.
Namaskar and good afternoon, Professor Jha. It has been indeed a pleasure and an honor for me to be part of your series on the work of various intellectuals that you have been running for the past few years.
सर, आपकी जीवन यात्रा को देखने पर पता चलता है कि आप एक सामान्य पृष्ठभूमि से आते हैं, लेकिन अपनी लगन व कड़ी मेहनत से आप सफलता की पराकाष्ठा पर चले जाते हैं। और देखा जाए तो आपने अपना पूरा जीवन विज्ञान, शोध, शिक्षा और मानव कल्याण को समर्पित कर दिया। तो आज की चर्चा को शुरू करते हुए ना सिर्फ मैं बल्कि हमारे सभी इंटेलेक्चुअल व्यूअर्स आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि क्या थे आपके जीवन के गाइडिंग प्रिंसिपल्स या ड्राइविंग फोर्स एंड व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड यू to pursue a scientific journey in general and biotechnology as your primary field. और साथ में थोड़ा इस बात पर भी प्रकाश डालें कि how have your research contributions in eco-friendly technologies and biotechnology directly benefited society? Over to you, sir.
Professor Jha, we came from a very middle class family, born in Dehradun, at that time part of Uttar Pradesh, today Uttaranchal. The guiding force behind my intellectual journey was my parents, my mother and my father. My father was an electrical engineer. Somehow, despite him being an engineer, I was always attracted towards biology rather than mathematics. And therefore, I pursued biology, which became biotechnology in the modern era. My education basis was the Delhi University, North Campus, and subsequently the foundation in biotechnology was laid in Indian Agriculture Research Institute, where a very senior professor of plant physiology, Professor S.K. Sinha, became an ideal for me to be followed. From Indian Agriculture Research Institute, I moved to Australia to pursue my PhD, and I wanted to do it in the area of biotechnology with particular reference to biochemistry. And therefore, during my stint in Australia at Adelaide with Professor D.J.D. Nicholas, I worked in the area of enzymes and regulation of enzymes to see how we could harvest sun energy using the green bacteria chlorobium and produce energy out of it. This gave me a very good foundation in physiology and biochemistry. However, that was the time, early 80s, when the advent of molecular biology was now occurring. And therefore, I moved to United States and I wrote a project for the Environmental Protection Agency, which was successful, which was a grant for 3 years. And I worked in the School of Medicine at the University of Cincinnati under this grant from Environmental Protection Agency to look at molecular mechanisms of water treatment plant. Basically, we were looking at how to develop genetical modification and continue increasing the rate of nitrification in sewage treatment. That gave me a good foundation of understanding both A, the physiology, B, the biochemistry, and looking at tools of molecular biology to take the study further. After completing my project in Cincinnati, I moved to India because I wanted to work under Indian conditions in the area of A, renewable energy. I joined Tata Energy Research Institute, which is now known as the Energy Resources Institute, TERI, in 1985. And I started work in the area of biomethanation, crudely known as gobar gas production. This was the time when the renewable energy phase was developing in the country, and a new department and a ministry had been started. Under that ministry, I got a funding to work on biomethanation and how do I modify microorganisms to increase the rate of biomethanation. Biomethanation, biogas production was solely dependent at that time on the use of gobar or the waste of animals. And we wanted to diversify the source of the material so that it could be adopted in a much larger scale and not just limited to the rural India. Therefore, we picked up agricultural residues. Now, agricultural residues, wheat is a very good fodder for the animals and therefore is not going to be available. So we concentrated on rice straw as a use of food for the microbes, which can then be converted into energy. And we develop a technology right from the lab, which we upscale to 2 cubic meters and then to 10 cubic meter of the use of rice straw for biomethanation in the urban as well as rural landscape. This gave us a good foundation at that time. However, it did not translate into a field application because the whole concept of biomethanation did not take off during that period. This was the early 90s, and I would now like to thank the former president of Iraq, Mr. Saddam Hussein, who invaded Kuwait in 1990. And that was the time when some of the oil wells leakage started moving towards the Indian Ocean. Indian government became quite concerned with the spilling of the oil on the waterways and therefore constituted a task force and a coordinated project which was to work on how do we tackle oil degradation. And that was the journey which I started on in the area of bioremediation of various pollutants in the environment. The first pollutant that we tackled was crude oil. Various institutions like the NEET in Nagpur, the University of Goa, as well as the Institute in Dehradun started working along with us in this area. We, being a landlocked institute in Delhi, worked on how do we tackle the oil pollution which occurs in various refineries. The fact of the matter, refineries do have contamination, yet very difficult for them to admit that they have contamination. And therefore, to gain access to the various refineries close to Delhi, and I won't name them please, we went to both the refineries, saw that at least on paper everything was clean, yet when we visited their storage facilities, we felt that we could work with them to develop technology which could help them in remediation of the contaminated soil. And that was the journey that we started in 1992 under a coordinated project sponsored by the Department of Biotechnology, which led to the development of a technology which was later developed and sold by Terry as oil zapper. We in the lab worked on both the field application of the microbial consortium that we developed towards the bioremediation of crude oil, and also to understand how the degradation of the various fractions of crude oil, the aromatic fraction, the aliphatic fractions, and the naphthalenes, how does the degradation of this occur? What are the products which are formed? Is it that the products which are formed are more toxic than the crude oil or less toxic than the crude oil? And also, how do we enhance the rate of degradation so that it is practically possible, at least in the land which we are working on? And this led to almost 10 PhD scholars working on these topics, which developed into a good technology both from a practical point of view and also understanding the mechanisms and the theory behind these degradation.
Excellent.
At this point of time in my career, I moved from Terry to Thapar Institute, Patiala, the Thapar University, at the invitation of the then director, Professor Kapoor, an ex-deputy director of IIT Kanpur. I continued my work on bioremediation, but not competing with Terry on oil, but because we were based in Punjab, which is the land of agriculture, we worked on the degradation of pesticide. And we concentrated on one pesticide known as endosulfone, in which again we looked at how do we develop practical technology which can be applied in situ on the agriculture field, as well as to understand the mechanism of degradation of endosulfan into compounds which are non-toxic or less toxic than the parent molecule. This was a project which was undertaken again by the support from Department of Biotechnology. During this phase of my stay at Thapar Institute of Research and Technology, I had a student by the name Machiavelli, an ever enthusiastic individual who was extremely dedicated to work for the state of Punjab. And we started looking at sustainable agriculture, which was funded by UNDP. A PhD thesis of this gentleman, Machiavelli, led to the various sustainable measures that we could take for the farmer so that we can conserve a lot of water as well as pesticides as well as fertilizers, yet increase the yield for the farmer. This was a very, very satisfying period for me, during which we worked both on bioremediation of the soil for Punjab as well as sustainable practices for agriculture.
Excellent.
2005, I was invited by NIIT, the giants in the computer field, to start a university in the state of Rajasthan. And we developed a biotechnology lab for a computer institute and a university, which came into existence in 2009. At NIIT University, the focus was on energy through renewable sources, and therefore we started working on butane production from microbial sources. That was again sponsored by the Department of Biotechnology, and therefore we contributed towards enhancing the rate of biobutanol, which could be then used as a futuristic fuel for the country.
Right.
I spent my 15 years at NIIT University developing biotechnology and integrating it with computer science and using bioinformatics as a tool. Subsequently, the work that we did was from a managerial point of view, and that was during my stint as Director General of the GERMI, which is Gujarat Energy and Research Management Institute at Gandhinagar. Just to give you an example, under the patronage of our current Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, we identified a village, Dholera, which was to be completely solarized. 279 houses were chosen, and in the first phase, all houses were provided with solar panels of 1 kilowatt in their homes. Subsequently, all the common utility buildings, the temple as well as the Sun Museum there and as the Sun Monument there, were totally solarized, and therefore today when we look at it, Dholera is a classic example of using sun for the generation of electricity and totally dependent on sun for its use of energy. The village is not at all dependent on any other source of energy for running its household as well as the monument which is there. And therefore, the advent of the message from the Prime Minister to enhance our capabilities towards the renewable energy sources was implemented in that particular town. In the state of Gujarat, if we see, and now today in the country, 50% of the capacity for an energy generation is now under the renewable energy sources, which includes solar, which includes wind, as well as small hydro. And as we move forward, we are going to take up the challenge which has been posed to the industry, to the scientists, and to the administrative people to increase this production, and therefore by 2047 we should be totally independent of our dependence on any other source of carbon.
Well, it's indeed a great intellectual pleasure listening to you and your commendable contributions to society and academia. Pertinent to that, as I can see in your profile, that you have worked in many prestigious institutions in India and abroad. How have these experiences shaped your perspective? थोड़ा उस पे प्रकाश डालें जी.
Professor Jha, my first foundation years at TERI with Professor and Dr. Pachauri developed a sense of independence, yet very focused. That was the time when I was not even 30 when I joined TERI, and that was the time I was asked to head the microbial biotechnology unit and develop a path for it to take it towards a greater height. Moving towards Thapa, I was given the task of setting up a center of excellence, which was known as CORE, Center of Relevance and Excellence, under the TIFAC Mission Reach program of our ex-president, and therefore we took that center. I joined in the month of October, and we developed a complete center in the next 6 months. During this period, the labs were established in 5,000 square meters of space and made functional so that the work could be undertaken. Did we just stop there? No. We developed a lab for tissue culture for potatoes. This was the seed material which was being required by the chip industry, particularly Fruity-Lay, the PepsiCo, and they gave us a contract. And therefore the idea was that we need to be self-dependent and not dependent on funding from other sources to run our own ship. We combined basic research with research which was targeted toward industry, one which supported students and their intellectual capabilities, and the other which generated revenue to support the research for the students. This center, for the next 5 years till I was there, was rated as the #1 center among all the centers under Mission Reach of the program. Third, my stint at NIIT University gave us how do we integrate knowledge of computer science with biotechnology and how do we take it further. What we see today is huge technological advancement, AI. How it is going to take further? Data analysis, metadatas which are going to be used for data analytics, and how is it that biotechnology will benefit from the new technologies. One message: do not always be only dependent on technology and computer prediction. Basic research and work in the lab is extremely important to validate what has been predicted. And we can see at one stage in the 1990s, early 2000, bioinformatics was growing at an extremely rapid pace and gave us a good idea of various advancements which we could make. However, its validation in the lab in the wet lab was essential. And that combination of bioinformatics and wet lab is what has been the boon for the biotechnology industry.
Well, moving further, capitalizing on your experience, what message would you like to give to young researchers and students of science today?
Professor Jha, the technological advances which have occurred in the field of biotechnology and its integration to computer science is something that we are all very proud of and very dependent on. However, hard work and work in the lab is critical for the success of biotechnology. Technology, the latest one, AI, and the data analytics will help the researchers in their movement towards excellence. However, that is not the final answer. It is work in the lab which is extremely critical, and for all researchers, soft biotechnology is not the answer for success. It is all work in the lab which is extremely important, that we should all be taking care of. Second, energy and how do we reduce our dependence on fuel, fossil fuel, is something that we need to concentrate on. And therefore, the work in the area of environmental biotechnology is related to energy dependence as well. If we can generate energy through microbial biotechnological sources, which will help us in cleaning the environment, then we have achieved a great success in our endeavor.
वेरी थॉटफुल ऑफ यू. आपको जितना सुनूं उतना ही और सुनने का मन करता है, लेकिन समय की थोड़ी मर्यादा है, इसलिए अब हम आज के सत्र की समाप्ति की ओर बढ़ेंगे. और to conclude our interaction, may I now request you to kindly give a message of peace and progress for society and mankind at large, so that we could create a better human, a better society, a better nation, a better planet for a better tomorrow. Over to you, sir.
Professor Jha, today, as we are talking, we see the turmoil which is going around us in the world. The fight between three countries, without naming them, has created an extremely volatile situation. And not just for these three countries, but all countries of the world. Because of our dependence of energy and gas, both oil and gas, on the region in the Middle East. But not only because of energy, I think we as human beings have to understand we need to live in peace with ourselves, with our neighbors, and across the world. And also with our environment. And therefore, we all have to work towards betterment of the humanity and to look at how we can contribute towards this a sustainable and peaceful coexistence among the various countries, various human beings that we all see. Not only the current war situation, but also the effect of the interracial, intercommunity that we see here. We need to understand we have to live together. And therefore, we have to work towards a much more sustainable environment, much more sustainable world for us to hand over to our children in a very sustainable manner.
Sir, we are immensely grateful to you for your scholarly presence with us today. और शिक्षा जगत में आपके उत्कृष्ट और सराहनीय कार्यों के लिए लाइफ एक्सप्रेस की जुड़ी ने आपके लिए एक अवार्ड की घोषणा की है और वो अवार्ड है लाइफ एक्सप्रेस आइकन ऑफ इंडिया अवार्ड। और आपके इस उपलब्धि पर मैं आपको अपने इंटेलेक्चुअल व्यूअर्स की ओर से ढेरों बधाई देता हूं। हार्टिएस्ट कांग्रेचुलेशंस। गॉड विलिंग वी शैल मीट अगेन in some other academic forum. Thank you for connecting with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
LXP Icon of India Award is proudly presented to Dr. Sunil Khanna for his exemplary contributions to world science fraternity on 9th May 2026.
आज के सत्र की समाप्ति मैं फिर एक आह्वान के साथ करूंगा, खासकर डॉक्टर सुनील खन्ना की बातचीत से निकले कुछ मुख्य अंश को लेकर। सबसे पहले डॉक्टर खन्ना ने बताया कि कैसे उनके माता पिता उनके मार्गदर्शक बने और कैसे वे जीव विज्ञान की ओर आकर्षित हुए, जो बाद में जैव प्रौद्योगिकी बन गया। 1980 के दशक की शुरुआत में आणविक जीव विज्ञान के आगमन के साथ वे संयुक्त राज्य अमेरिका चले गए और पर्यावरण संरक्षण एजेंसी के लिए एक परियोजना पर काम किया, जहां उन्होंने जल उपचार संयंत्रों के आणविक तंत्रों का अध्ययन किया। भारत लौटने के बाद उन्होंने टाटा ऊर्जा अनुसंधान संस्थान टेरी में काम किया और बायो मेथनेशन पर शोध किया, जिसका उद्देश्य बायोगैस उत्पादन के लिए गोबर के अलावा अन्य स्रोतों का उपयोग करना था। उन्होंने चावल के भूसे का उपयोग करके बायोमेथनेशन के लिए एक तकनीक विकसित की। 1990 के दशक में उन्होंने तेल प्रदूषण के जैव उपचार पर काम करना शुरू किया, जिसमें ऑयल जैपर नामक एक तकनीक का विकास हुआ, जिससे तेल रिफाइनरियों में दूषित मिट्टी का उपचार होता है। उन्होंने टिकाऊ कृषि पद्धतियों पर भी काम किया, जिससे किसानों को कम पानी और उर्वरकों का उपयोग करके अधिक फसल उगाने में मदद मिली। 2005 में उन्होंने जैव प्रौद्योगिकी को कंप्यूटर विज्ञान के साथ एकीकृत करने और बायो इन्फॉर्मेटिक्स को एक उपकरण के रूप में उपयोग करने पर भी ध्यान केंद्रित किया। उन्होंने बताया कि कैसे उनकी शोध उपलब्धियों ने समाज को लाभान्वित किया है, जैसे कि ऑयल जैपर का व्यवसायीकरण और टिकाऊ कृषि पद्धतियों का विकास। उन्होंने गुजरात एनर्जी एंड रिसर्च मैनेजमेंट इंस्टीट्यूट में अपने कार्यकाल के दौरान धोलेरा गांव को पूरी तरह से सौर ऊर्जा पर निर्भर बनाने के उदाहरण का भी उल्लेख किया। उन्होंने युवा शोधकर्ताओं और छात्रों को कड़ी मेहनत करने, प्रयोगशाला में काम करने और प्रौद्योगिकी पर पूरी तरह से निर्भर न रहने का संदेश दिया। उन्होंने नवीकरणीय ऊर्जा स्रोतों पर ध्यान केंद्रित करने और पर्यावरण जैव प्रौद्योगिकी के क्षेत्र में काम करने के महत्व पर भी जोर दिया। अंत में उन्होंने दुनिया में चल रही अशांति को देखते हुए शांतिपूर्ण सह अस्तित्व और मानवता की बेहतरी के लिए काम करने का संदेश दिया। विद दोज डेलिब्रेशंस ऑफ डॉक्टर सुनील खन्ना वी क्लोज दिस एपिसोड और मिलते हैं अगले एपिसोड में समाज के एक और रोल मॉडल के साथ। टिल देन एंजॉय योर टाइम मीनिंगफुली और हाँ, अपना और अपनों का भी ख्याल रखें। जय हिंद।